All right, you know how this works. 2 minutes per talking point. And we are going to start with Diego Lima. I'll get a jockey's perspective, first of all. Don't know what ban... I mean, he's going to be disqualified for the up to 13 time using the whip, but also using, it appeared, the butt end of the whip in the stalls twice on the horse's head. It was pretty grim viewing, I thought, Neill. How did you react? It
was, and it is, and it always is when it happens, because it's unacceptable from a horse welfare point of view. The only thing is that, like, when you kind of look at things like that, the camera view that they have, you know, it's not defending it, but the camera view that they have is from behind. So if you have another camera view that shows them actually making contact with the horse, then it's better. So, like, when you look at the rear view where they have it from behind, the horse doesn't move its head, it doesn't move its ears. And can you conclusively say that he actually made contact with its head, or was he waving it out? I don't know, but from a horse welfare point of view, it doesn't look good, and it's, you know, it's a bad look.
Well, this was it, Cornelius.
Yeah, it was just. It was a very bad, as Neill says, very bad look. They'd gone through the rules with him in the weighing room. I think it was his first ride in Britain, based in Ireland these days. Had one or two run-ins, I think, in Australia in the past as well. The main reaction that quite a lot of people have had to this, as well as being well, pretty distraught at just seeing what happened, was the penalty for that part of it. So the range is 1 to 5 days for what he was found guilty of, and he got 2 days. Was that adequate? I think there were plenty of people who felt that 2 days for apparently hitting the horse on the head in the stalls was not enough. As far as this is concerned, we all know what the rules are. 99.9% of the time, jockeys are absolutely brilliant, very responsible, but this wasn't, and it will be before the Whip Review Committee on Tuesday, when unquestionably he says he's very sorry, and that all that kind of thing. But that was it was pretty shameful.
On a 2-year-old, Rog.
Yeah.
That's not that it's accepted on any horse, but you talked about your 2-year-olds being, you know, take your time sorts. I mean...
Yeah, for what reason, you don't know. The horse seemed to be standing there without not messing about, I don't know. But like Neill said, you've only got that angle from the rear and you can't really see what he's up to.
And I think that's probably why he only got 2 days, because you cannot conclusively say that he did or he didn't. Like, I don't know what the stewards report says, whether he's actually admitted to it or not. I don't know.
I think he said that he didn't. So I think he's that he.
And the trainer said he didn't.
And so the video clearly shows him moving his arm, but does it show him making contact? Is that why he got 2 days? I don't know.
Just on this, the other point that Lydia made on course on the day was, you know, almost certainly it's because it's a 2-year-old that this has happened, because we're in that season where if a 2-year-old looks pretty good, you can sell him. And you know, that's where we are at the moment.
But it shouldn't be just a 2-year-old. Any horse.
Well, yeah.
Any horse and any animal in society shouldn't be, like, hit or whatever for no reason. But, you know, looking at that, if you have a side-on angle and you see the whip making contact, then it's easy.
It's the win-at-all-cost mentality that you have, I think, though, to particularly with Royal Ascot on the horizon, where you know how you can benefit, Roger, from, you know, the potential of selling these horses. I feel that was something at play here.
The use of the whip during the race is unacceptable. Yeah. On any horse.
That amount of times.
Yeah, it's unacceptable.
And especially sorry to interrupt.
No, please.
Especially in this day and age, when this is not just crucial for racing, this is potentially existential. Ultimately, it's so important. Everyone knows the rules. You can be as sorry as you like, but and once over is very bad, but that many times over is terrible.
Cockfighting brothers, this is Jose and Irad Ortiz as well, as a Major League Baseball star, who've been seen in a video at cockfighting, which is illegal. I think it was in Puerto Rico, was it?
Well, I don't know, but there's the photograph, and the allegation is they're involved with they've been involved with an illegal activity right the way across America. Well, not unsurprisingly, animal rights protesters are furious. I think there's been an investigation of some sort, but there was no upshot from that. But I was just thinking earlier on, say Neill was found to have been involved in something of that sort, which is an illegal activity, could be cockfighting, could be fox hunting or whatever. What would happen here? I think that there'd be some kind of suspension probably, or certainly some kind of a hearing ordered, quite rightly so. And for two of the biggest stars of American racing to have allegations like this made against them is very, very serious. And it's a repeat of what I just said. You know, racing around the world needs all the assistance it can get. And this is just like a massive kick in the teeth when something like this is going on. Now, we don't know the date of that photograph. We don't know all the details. One of the racing commissions in America have looked into this and decided not to proceed. But clearly it's a pretty grim situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I wonder how do you think you'd fare if you were involved in something that was illegal over here?
Well, I certainly wouldn't be involved in something like that.
I know.
Because
I think you'd get something. I think you'd get something coming your way.
Well, I don't know, because obviously you'd have to look up the rule book. Is the photo in Puerto Rico? Is it a licensed sport in Puerto Rico?
No, it's still illegal there in that American territory. It's illegal, definitely.
Well then, you know, something has to be done about it. You know, because they are the face of racing in America. So, you know, those two brothers, they were first and second in the Kentucky Derby last week.
That's the thing, isn't it? They were part of the absolute story of.
If it is illegal, then you know there has to be something. Something has to be done.
Right, Andy Burnham. Now, has he stated his position on gambling and horse racing? Well, and what are the implications for the sport if he does get in?
So he's mayor of Manchester, and he put his name to a call for councils to have more influence re-betting shops in high streets, but also he put his name to calls for councils to have more control over other advertising and other promotion of racing within their areas. So he is a sceptic. He is a big sceptic when it comes to gambling. He is one of those people who sees, it as a public health matter. He is mayor of Manchester at the moment, but he could easily be in Parliament by the end of June. There is talk of, if he gets in, he will go straight into Downing Street, potentially, as Prime Minister. And will he tighten the screw on racing? Well, he certainly won't loosen it. He was spotted he was at the Grand National Festival this year, and I think he grew up very near the racecourse, and he's a big fan of the Grand National as an event. The scepticism on the gambling adverts and the gambling promotion is something that racing will have to bear in mind and keep an eye on, because theoretically the councils that want to do this, if they've got a race, now this is the theory, no one's actually said this, but theoretically, if a racecourse was in a council area and that council wanted to, theoretically could stop bookmakers displaying their odds on boards. That is the sort of that is the worst case scenario. I think it could potentially get to that kind of thing. So if it's an area that he is very sceptical about, and that could be potentially interesting, maybe not in a pleasant way.
Interesting that he, seems to be a supporter of the biggest betting race in the world, but a gambling itself.
Those people who were talking to him at Aintree said he loves that as a community event in Merseyside. He loves sport in Merseyside, but in terms of gambling, it's a massive. As we know, it's a massive thing, only getting bigger. And also, if there is a Labour Party leadership race, then he will be, he and the other candidates will be looking for support from some people who are really sceptical about advertisements involving gambling.
Summer Jumps Fields. I don't know. I mean, you're busy, Roger. I know. How much do you keep abreast of any summer jumping action? Is it something that you'll have on, that you'll take an interest in? Because the field sizes, probably not helped by the weather, are pretty small at the moment. Yeah,
probably like you just said, it's so dry at the moment. everyone would be worried about running their horses. So I know they try to make the ground as safe as possible, but it's false when it's watered. You can't beat a bit of good bit of rain, can you? And so yeah, no, I think at the moment while we've got this dry period, the fields will remain small. Do you, when it comes to quick ground, and I guess with particular emphasis on jumping because of you got a faller rate there, for example. I mean, do you see quicker ground as inherently riskier and more dangerous as a trainer? Well, it depends on your horse, really. I think, each horse is different, and, some horses appreciate a good sound surface, and some obviously want a cutting or a bit of soft ground. So it's getting to know your horse, really. And I think that's why you see a lot of non-runners, because the trainer was not happy with the ground on the day, so we'll pull it. So we talk
about horses getting jarred up. I mean, on horsepower, on that website, there is a higher risk rate and fatality rate on quicker ground or good to firm ground, certainly over jumps. But do you, from your perspective, do you see that as a riskier proposition as opposed to easier ground?
Look, I suppose a lot of horses that come from the flat going jumping have been running on fast ground before when they were younger as flat horses. Look, I mean, how long's a piece of string? You can talk about it all day. But look, a lot of the best horses are away for the next season that like dig in the ground, and horses that run in the sumper like fast ground. So, yes, I don't really have much of a view on it because I don't really delve into it too much. But yeah, look.
Is that what's been to blame for the smaller fields, do we think, by and large, or is it just not enough horses?
Smaller fields that have been particularly highlighted, a meeting at Huntingdon had 24 runners and a meeting at Hereford had 25. But certainly in the Hereford's case, they were taking on an extra fixture from elsewhere at the end of a long season. So probably can't really judge summer jumping on something like that. But Worcester hasn't started yet, doesn't start till next week. That should boost the number of runners. Newton Abbotts and Perth have had a good start to the sort of summer jumping circuit. So it's not completely disastrous. You're not looking at 24 and 25 runner there was walkover at Hereford because of transport problems. It's not completely disastrous, but clearly it's something the BHA, the BHA looks at the turf season, the all-weather season, the summer jumping season, the winter jumping season, and it will be one of the things that is analysed. But I think that this dry weather, we've had I know it's been wet in one or two places over the last day or two, but not to the extent that is really needed. But I think Hereford and Huntingdon both had small fields. It was at the end of they are staging fixtures at the end of a long season, aren't they? They're going right the way back to last autumn.
Right, James Noyes has quit. This is the DCMS advisory panel, and he has stepped down, which, given his position, was quite big news, given they were affordability checks that at one stage he seemed to be in support of.
Yeah, and his reputation as well. His reputation of being, I don't mean to sound patronising, but really sensible on this particular matter. He just doesn't feel that the due diligence has been done. So he decided that the situation was clearly unacceptable. There is talk of these affordability checks coming in this week, isn't it? I think there's an important board meeting coming up in the next few days. What that means is that a really sensible voice is now out of the equation, and one that was a sensible voice that was putting forward one or two thoughts that would have been good from a racing point of view, that this thing needs thinking through properly. And he clearly thinks it hasn't been thought through properly. Somebody from the Gambling Commission, Tim Miller, said this week, you can't evaluate these things until they're implemented, which I'm not sure whether... I keep sort of looking at that phrase, can't evaluate it until implemented. Is that actually right? Surely...
Why did we have a trial then?
Well, quite. So what you do, presumably, is you come up with an idea, then you think it through, and then you decide how to go forward with it. Well, Mr. Miller seems to can't emulate until implemented. I wasn't absolutely sure about that particular thing. But this whole thing is, you know, it's going to rumble on and on. There's talk now the bookmakers and they're trying to get judicial review of this matter, going to court over the whole subject. So, and somebody else was saying this week there may be a board meeting this week where the next step will take place. But you know, there's still some way to go. We shall see.
From a horseman's point of view, is this something that really gets discussed day in, day out? Do you go into yards and talk about affordability checks? Is it at the forefront of your mind as to how damaging it could be to the sport, or genuinely not really?
Well, I don't get involved in it, but I listen to it, and I just think it's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous to listen to. But someone, somewhere, with power is going to have to justify their reasoning for pushing whatever it is forward to the Gambling Commission or whatever. And I think that's probably why it keeps rumbling on. Someone who wanted this to happen is going to have to keep pushing to justify the reason why they started in the first place.
And not just...
That's just me looking from the outside in, thinking it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Not just scrapping them all together.
Racing cannot relax in any way on this matter. It could cost, you know, a huge amount of money for the sport, so it's just got to keep concentrating. And although on the one hand it was good that James Noyes has walked away saying this situation is completely unacceptable, you've also lost a really sensible voice.
Illegal betting in Irish pubs.
I was surprised by the numbers. This was reported in the Racing Post this week. That there are 100 pubs have been identified around Ireland where organised betting is taking place. And I didn't quite work out whether this is during big meetings or taking place on a regular basis. But, you know, linked to all of this is the whole black market situation. So if in Ireland there are 7,000 pubs and 100 of them, the authorities know there is sophisticated illegal betting taking place. In Britain, there are 40,000 pubs. You know, that could be 600, you know, a similar percentage would be about 600 pubs. And it just strikes me as, you know, these need to be stamped on. This is such a good illustration of what could happen and is already happening. And you know, the Irish authorities saying we can see this and we'll stamp down on them. I hope the authorities in this country can take the same view. And if more shops are going, and that seems to be the way we're looking, is you know, it's something that's got to be monitored, because it will only, there is clearly still that appetite for it. And they're going on a very regular. But I had a lucky betting shop that I used to, whenever I go to one particular town, always nice to have a couple of quid in your pocket. So rather than have a bet via an app, I love going in the betting shop. So I went in there when I was in this particular town the other day, and oh no, the betting shop's gone. Is it gone now? It's gone. So now I have no lucky betting shop. And even less chance of backing a winner. I was going around rural France cycling about 10 days ago, and it was amazing the amount of places you'd nip into for a coffee or a pression. And then they've got the PMU up in there, and there's a group of guys in there just in. But this is the same in Australia, and they have it everywhere. Yeah, it's basically part of life, isn't it? It's a way of life. You know, you go in, have a coffee, go on your bike, have a little bet, whatever. It's like, you know. Yeah, it's just legal. Yeah, I know, but like. but I agree. It's why is it not being done here then? But they're going to be, and if affordability checks come in, and you can just go and have a pint and have a bet, then there are going to be. In America as well, you go to a casino and you can have a bet at the same time on the racecourse. So, you know, if you go to a cafe and they've got like Australia's the same. You go to like this. Bars and restaurants and all that, or you can go to shops or shopping malls. There's like a little desk where you can have a bet. Well, why can't you do that here and legalise it? Then hopefully that takes away from the black market. I think we've gone too far down one road. But this is the problem. This is why we are where we are. But those two words, black market, cannot be overemphasised. And Olive Nicholls has stopped riding and is going to join up and ditch it with her dad and be very much part of that team. And a lovely way to finish it. She rode a double, didn't she, at Newton Abbot races during the week, on Wednesday, I think it was. And I think she's been working for her dad a bit for a relatively short amount of time. But Charlie St Quintin has, I think, moved on as one of the assistants there, so she's going to become a main assistant. I thought there were a couple of quite interesting quotes from her. She said there's lots to focus on, because it's well known that Paul Nicholls, her dad, remains a major force in British jump racing, but the season he's just had was his least successful for quite some time. Having said that, there was still a huge number of 94 winners and £2.162 million in prize money, so not exactly a catastrophic season. But she said there's lots to focus on. Hopefully we're going to turn things around and get fighting again. So there's a real sort of real injection of energy, of even more energy into the Nicholls operation, thanks to Olive, and that's going to be really interesting to follow in the months and seasons ahead.
Would you recommend working with your kids, Roger?
Yeah, well, I've tried it. Yeah, no, it can work. It does work. Obviously, you do clash. There's clash of personalities, clash of way you do things. You know, she'll have some fresh ideas. Whether Paul accepts them or not, I don't know. That would be.
And the other thing is the age thing. If you're trying to get younger people in, Paul's been training since the very early 1990s. He's in his early to mid 60s now. Here's Oliver's 20. So you know, I think people are probably more attracted to an operation if there is a younger face. So there is theoretically the perfect mix of the wisdom of the 14 times champion trainer. And for all the experience he's gained over many years, and someone younger and somebody different and fresher. So,
how old was Harry when he started, or came sort of more officially with you?
About sort of 25, 26. Okay. He just packed up the riding. But now he's gone out on his own pre-training and braking, and yeah, it's really good. And he'll come back. You know, it's just that he wanted to do his own thing, and I think it's good for him to do that. And you know, when I eventually hang up my boots or whatever, then he can fill my shoes. You know, hopefully we can.
It'll be a long time though, won't it?
There you got a while.
I don't know.
Got a long time.
Sometimes I want to walk away tomorrow.
Not when you've got a lovely run in the lock-ins like yesterday.
No, it does. Those days pick you up. But no, it can be tough.
That is it for this week's Talking Points.